leverage power and personal power. And from last trend, we're talking about reaction. And this is from research, which just means that when we use power from different sources, we can have different reaction. As you can see that when you use coercive power, most of the time we got resistance. But it doesn't mean that we should rely on just personal power, which are leverage power and expert power. To have strong leadership, it means that we should have or of powers. In the other one, the more the better. But it's just the way that we use power that we have to use power with responsibility. That was the last time. All right. So we continue with. Well, we would like to see big picture of leadership. We don't want just to see a part of leadership. Meaning that if you are interested in leadership and you go to bookstore, try to get a book. Chances are you will get a book that will talk about leadership just in one aspect. Maybe they talk about like DNA or personality or traits of leadership, or maybe they just talk about like behavior, or maybe just something that's more contemporary with about leadership. But since we are in MBA, therefore we would like to see all the big or picture or aspect of leadership. Comparing just like when we look at elephant, for like a blind, if a blind would like to describe elephant, and if a blind just touch on just tail of elephant, that blind person will describe elephant just like a rope. But if that a blind person touches body of elephant, maybe that person will describe elephant just like a wall or something like that. But it's not the right picture of an elephant. This is meaning that when we look at leadership, study leadership, we should be able to look at leadership in all aspects. And of course, we would like to start with the one that is easy to understand, which is, or maybe the earliest attempt to study leadership, which is try to look at traits. Meaning that at the time when they would like to study about leadership, they look for leaders and try to look at personality or maybe even physical appearance, physical attributes. As you can imagine, when you try to describe leader from just physical attributes, it's hard to describe because we can see a leader who is really tall, who is very short, in compound size. Therefore, probably it's hard to describe or to study leadership from just physical attribute. Therefore, in terms of traits, they try to look at leadership from personality, social, intellectual, something like that. As I mentioned that since it's very hard to describe leaders from just physical attribute, therefore later in trait theory is focused on personality. And this is example of personality that we are about to learn shortly in individual differences, which is we talk about how we differ in terms of our personality. But maybe just for now, this is example of personality that we mostly see in leadership, which is the first one, extrovert. You can understand extrovert, extrovert and introvert. So when we're talking about extroversions, it's mean characteristic that's talkative, outgoing, social. It's not a problem for that type of person to initiate conversation with stranger. But on contrary to extrovert is introvert. All right. So for introvert, they like to just stay alone, and if they have to meet stranger, it's very uncomfortable for them, especially to initiate conversation. And from research, most research we find that extrovert is a type of personality or characteristics that's easy to be a leader. All right, but we will talk about that later. But it doesn't mean that if you consider yourself as introvert, it means that no way that you can be a good leader. It's not that too. Because this is something that even though this is personality, but when we aware of behavior that we should do, we can try to practice that behavior. For example, one article that I read about introvert CEO, which is introvert CEO of one big IT firm. I don't remember the name of the firm, but the CEO said, well, as an introvert, it's quite hard. But it doesn't mean that I cannot be a good CEO. Therefore, he tried to practice what CEO should do. For example, he have like target that's for maybe in a month, how many party that he should attend, something like that. And also he also have like KPI about business card that he will get when he attend a party. And he also got a training. That training involved how to initiate conversation and how to end conversation. Because in some conversation, he will not go anywhere that lead to gonna benefit his work. That is how when if we not the right personality, probably we have to try harder. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible. That is about extroversion. And also, we also find other types of personality in leaders, such as conscientious. And this is the list that's probably if you are interested more. Personality, extroversion, conscientiousness, which is in a few minutes we'll probably have a chance to talk about those personality details. Self-concept, positive self-evaluation, high self-esteem. Anybody know internal locus of control? Well, again, it's in your handout today. So we will talk about that. Drive, inner innovation to pursue goals, inclusiveness, integrity, and so on. Leadership motivation, knowledge of business, cognitive practice, and intelligence. All right, so and also today about emotional intelligence. Actually, there's an issue about emotional intelligence and leadership, but I will not talk about that now because I will wait for group number one. Maybe group number one has something to say about that, so I'll maybe wait for that. But anyway, in terms of to study leadership from trait. It's quite hard because from the list of traits, it's just example. And maybe if I ask every one of you to tell me traits of leaders that you think a good leader should have, maybe everyone will tell me different things. Because we can have, one range of traits that we can use to describe leadership. In the other one, when the list of leadership is very long, it becomes useless because it's too long. It cannot help us much in terms of to develop leadership. Therefore, something that we can learn from traits. It's not about traits that can describe good leadership versus bad leadership or ineffective versus effective. But actually, it can describe maybe in terms of emergence of leader. In the other one, if you have such characteristics, it will be easy for you to be perceived as a leader. But it doesn't mean that when you have those traits, you're going to be good leader or effective leader. Because to be good leader or effective leader is more than just to have that traits. More than just to be extrovert, more than just to be conscious, that kind of thing. All right. So this is a contribution from trait, daily of leadership. Therefore, if we cannot explain leadership just only on trait, we have to move on to other angle to help us to better describe or study about leadership. Another way is that we look at behavior. In the other one, what leaders do. In fact, Peter Drucker, who is a management guru, had a quote. He said that to him when he did consulting work with a lot of executives and tried to find one thing in common, which is characteristic or trait, he found nothing. And to him, the word executive came from verb execute, meaning that to do. Okay, but the thing is, do what? All right, before I tell you about what Peter Drucker told us about what effective executive do, this is from, maybe it's quite long, it's just from that, but it's classic. This is something that we should know. There are two schools that propose not the same thing, but looks similar but not the same. It's similar in a way that it look at leaders from behavior, from what leaders do, and they come with similar idea, a little bit different, and especially different term. For Ohio State University, they call it initiating structure and consideration. But for University of Michigan, they call it employee orientation behavior and production orientation behavior. Even though those names, technical term, different, but the meaning pretty much the same. Meaning that when Ohio describes initiating structure, it's similar to job focused behavior. Something like leader focus only on just about job. Maybe early in the morning, first thing that leader say to employees maybe, tell me progress of our project. Any problem, anything that I can do to help you speed up the project, something like that. That is, because they just look at achievement on the job, of the task, try to get the work done. But for the type that Ohio called consideration, but for Michigan called employee orientation, is behavior that pay attention on employees. Something like, today abs that seems very, very bad. Do you have masks? I heard that it's very hard to get masks in Bangkok, something like that. It's not about work, it's not about job, it's about employees. So this is, employees focus. But the term is a little bit different. But in each idea in details. For Michigan study, they determine those behavior as I told you, job center, employee center. But look at this. Michigan proposed that a leader could exhibit either behavior, but not both at the same time. In the end, one person can be either job center or employee center. In the other one, those behavior are on same continuum. It's just the opposite end. And it just, depends on each individual. Maybe lean toward to one end. Maybe job center, maybe employee center. Maybe this is the time that you think about your boss or someone that you work closely with, or maybe even yourself. What type of behavior that person is. Maybe that person job center, maybe that person is employee center. And after that, Michigan tried to study this from research. So let's try to research which behavior is better. In the other word, which behavior is more effective. Before I tell you, would you like to take a guess? Job center or employee center, which behavior is more effective? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah. What aspect of effective would you mean, like getting the job done, getting the KPI, or like getting the people to listen?
Well, when they say effective, it means result.
Oh, the result
Mm-hmm.
with the KPI, then I would be the job or
It could be, but sometimes, when you pay attention on people, maybe if they feel good, they maybe just not work with hands, but they work with hearts. And they will probably work with hands. It's not just because, you focus on tasks and they can get work done. But again, it doesn't mean that when you focus on employee, when they like you, they're happy, they're gonna work hard either. So it's quite complicated, because we are human. Therefore, it's, become inconclusive finding. They cannot conclude which behavior linked to effectiveness. That's true for Michigan. But something for sure that when leader use employee center, it lead to higher job satisfaction. All right, job satisfaction. Are you guys familiar with those terms? Job satisfaction is mean how much employees satisfied with their jobs. And should we care about job satisfaction? Yeah, because we believe that when employee happy, or when they like their work, when they like their boss, it should lead to that good behavior, and it should lead to work performance, right? And this is one. But actually, there's one chapter in your textbook that talking attitude and job satisfaction in details. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time to cover that. But to make things short, relationship between job satisfaction and performance is not that simple. It doesn't mean that happy workers are always productive workers. Because there are other factors that can be modulator in that relationship. But we know that nothing hurts if you try to increase employee satisfaction. In fact, some even believe that employee come first, customer come second. Believe that when you satisfy your employees, those employees will satisfy your customer. Alright, but again, it's not that plain simple. Just say that happy employees gonna be good workers. Not always true. Alright, but anyway, so therefore, even though employee centered lead to job satisfaction, it doesn't mean that it's gonna lead to results all the time. That is from that Michigan study found. Alright, but for Ohio, something that you maybe have to pay attention that make Ohio different from Michigan. Consideration and initiating structure in the other consideration is similar to employee center, and consideration is similar to job center. Were not thought to be on the same continuum. Therefore, when you look at this picture, this is represent how those two schools' idea different. Above is Michigan, which is they are the same continuum, opposite end. For Ohio, this one continuum is just initiating structure, jobs focus, and those constellation is employee focus. For this idea, one person can be high on both, just like DD. Okay, D, like high on both. Maybe one person, for example, just like be low on both, and one person can be high on one, low on one. And maybe this is if you think about your boss or your coworker, your friend. Maybe you find as example that one person that good on both or bad at both. Okay, the thing is, which one is the best? Maybe. But before we talk about that, let me introduce you this idea because it seems like a lot of people talking about this idea because one person got license from Baker & Wudong Managerial Grade and Conduct Training, certified training, and they call leadership grade or managerial grade. As you can see, when someone say, "Oh, this is idea concept about managerial grade or leadership grade," exactly the same from previous idea, but they just have like grade number, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, and then they put they give the name for each category. For example, that 1 low on both encourage management, but for low on concern for production, but high on the concern for people, 1-9, that calls country club enrollment. But for this focus a lot on production or job, low on people, they call it task management, and this is middle of the road management, and that is 9-9. In the beginning, they believe that team management on 9-9 is the best. But since idea that dominate management nowadays is what we call contingency. Contingent, which just means that it depends. It depends on situation. Even 9-9 sound good, but it doesn't mean that when this 9-9 is gonna be good in our situation. Maybe crisis. Maybe in crisis, maybe focus have to be on job, not on people, because it's crisis. something like that. Therefore, it's hard to just try to come up with one behavior or one style that is the best in that situation. Given that environment is like VUCA, just like last time that we talk about that idea. It's the part that make management or leadership become very challenging. We don't have like recipe or formula, just come up with way that we should do. If we can do that, we don't have to pay executive or CEO at the high price. But because it's use a lot of thinking, maybe intuition sometimes, to come up with way to manage. It's become management task is very challenging and can be very difficult. And according to Peter Drucker, as I said, Peter Drucker didn't believe in characteristic or traits of a leader. He said that when he was invited to conduct a seminar about how to develop charisma or certain trait to be good leader, it just so it disturbed him because he didn't believe that. According to him, effective leadership is not about making speeches, not a person who can deliver good speech, talk well, good, or being like people like them. Leadership is defined by results, not attributed. And this is what he suggested executive to do. Is that this is effective executive should do these 9 things. This is not from research, it's just from his experience. First, determine what needs to be done, not just what executive would like to do. It has to be something that needs to be done, and those things have to be good for the whole enterprise, not just for good for a certain person or just for a certain group. Develop action plans because plan without action is just a dream. And we have too many public dreamers. We want someone to actually make it happen. So develop action plans, take responsibility for decisions, take responsibility for communicating action plans, focus on opportunity rather than problems. Because if you focus on problems, you cannot do anything because you see obstacles, you see problems, so you don't want to do anything. But if you focus on opportunity, you can seize opportunity first, and then you can make something for organization. And also run productive meetings. The reason is because most activity that takes a lot of time for executive is meeting. So to run productive meeting is very important. Thing is that we rather than I and listen first, speak last. As we discussed about communication, this is not just about talk, but as the leader you have to listen and especially make people feel that they are listened. And this is good executive have to listen first. And what happens if that executive, especially top leader, speak first? For others, maybe they hesitate to say something is different from executive. But you don't want that. You want to hear lots of ideas. Therefore, probably better that you just listen first and maybe speak last. Make decision. Alright, so takeaway from behavioral style. So it's it's good. It can be something. It can contribute to the field. But again, no one best way of leadership styles depends on situation. And this is the reason that leads up to this idea that we call contingency perspective, meaning that we explain leadership from situation. If we would like to find leadership style, we have to know what style that fit with the situation. All right, we start with Fiedler's contingency model. Okay. This one is the most classic one. Even though maybe in practice you hardly hear people talk about Fiedler unless someone that's has studied leadership. But anyways, then you are doing MBA, it's worth for you to know and get familiar with the idea. We're talking about style. of leadership and situation. So let's begin with style. For Fiedler, he referred to style as LPC, least preferred coworker. So what does it mean by LPC, least preferred coworker? Actually, you don't have to remember. You just try to understand, and it makes sense. Well, this is just nature of management. That most of the time, we don't have something that break through. It just get developed from the old idea and maybe change the name. For example, nowadays we talk about objective key result, which is similar to KPI, which is similar to management objective. But anyway, start from that time when Fiedler suggests, well, we can look at leader style from what he called LPC, which is least preferred coworker score. The way that he access LPC score is by, for example, if we would like to access, let's say, Jacob, leader style, I will ask Jacob, which one is your least preferred coworker? You understand that, right? Least preferred coworker. If you don't want to work with that person, and then ask Jason to give score to that person, to your least preferred coworker. Jason made I think about A, and then okay, when think about A, what do you think about 1 to 8? 1 is cooperative, uncooperative, and 8 cooperative. 1 is unfriendly and 8 is friendly. That's the way that he did, and then when I think it's all together is about like 8 questions, and then sum up for 8 questions. And is it turned out that LPC score of Jacob is high? And this is logic. You don't have to try to memorize because it's just logic. If it's high LPC, meaning that when I ask Jacob about a person that is least preferred coworker, but he still can think positively about that person because it's high score, it must be relationship-oriented leader or employee-centered, similar something like that. On contrary, if score is low, it means that leadership style is task-oriented leader. Okay, so it's just this is logic. This is you can try to memorize, but I don't think that it will do you anything good. It's just by understanding concept and logic. And the next logic is either to match between leadership style with situation. And we already got leader style, which we have like task or job center, task motivated leader, and relationship motivated. But for situation, Fiedler identified 3 situations, which are leader-member relations. What about relation between leader and members? Is it good or bad? If it's good, it means that they can trust each other, between leader and followers, members. They support each other. That's, have good and poor. Task structure, high or low. If it's high task structure, it means that to do that job, follower knows step, process. 1, 2, 3, to do the job. But if task structure is low, it means not exactly have like complete step to do the job, but I just know that I have to get the job done. And position power is that leader have strong or weak. If that leader has like no power to make decision regarding followers, bonus, or raises, it means that that power is weak. But if leader can do a lot of things, make a lot of decisions. For example, to reward or reprimand followers, means that this power is very strong. From that 3 situation, 3 factors, and each each factors have 2 conditions: good, poor, high or low, strong or weak. We end up with 8 situations. All right, according to this picture. And next, again, logic. No need to try to memorize. If the situation is good, high control mean that high control for leader. Leadership style that is good is past center because since everything is good already, therefore focus on getting done result. Because as leader, we're talking about getting result done, right? The result in terms of work and also people also happy. But anyway, the main focus is about get the job done. Therefore, well, if the situation is very very good, so okay, best leadership style is to be task motivated leader. But if the situation is everything is bad, this situation, no need to try. No need to go chit chat, no need to develop anything, no need to be relationship motivated leader because the situation probably cannot get worse. Therefore, just go with task motivated leader to just get the job done. No need to care much about employees because everything is terrible already in this situation. But if the situation in the middle, go with relationship motivated leader. Again, for the sake of study, you don't have to try to memorize because it's just by logic. But I'm not saying that feedless logic are correct because later, lots of people collected data, try to do empirical study, and it turned out to be like it's not correct with this idea. But since this is very first attempt to study leader in terms of situation leadership style, it's become classic. That this is the reason that we have to know it in our leadership textbook. And one problem about this theory is maybe from assumption. This theory has assumption that each individual have dominant leadership style, meaning that leader cannot change leader style. So if we get something unfit, unmatched, we have to change situation. For example, if we find unmatched and we have to change leader-member relations, maybe like, we have to maybe make relationship between leader and member better. Maybe we can spend more, hopefully spend more time, help to increase relationship between leader and member. Maybe less, if you don't want to have good relationship, leader member things request particular people for your group. So when you like that person, maybe it's help in terms of relationship between leader and member. That's to modify leader member. So speaking of which, I read one research that they're talking about how we can increase or maybe improve relationship in the group. And I find it's interesting, but before I share that research with you, I would like you to guess what should we do with co-worker or maybe with followers to help to improve relationships in the group. Yes?
Maybe go to hang out with party together to get closer.
Sound good. Good idea. Any other idea? Party that you say?
My
Okay.
team do it a lot.
But the thing about party is, if most of people in your teams are introvert, maybe they are hesitant to go. If you see what I mean. I'm saying that because I consider myself as an introvert person. I think I'm very introvert. I hardly go out, in a party because it's not fun for me. I find that spend time alone is, I enjoy that the most. Read books, cook, do something that I would like to do alone. But anyway, it's a good idea to go party. Any other idea to improve? Yeah. Oh, interesting. Playing games. What type of game, Rupat?
Maybe it's this game like if you can see the show of all the gazing of the eyes of celebrities
Uh-huh.
I don't know what is the game called. I
Uh-huh.
like to play this game.
Okay. That's good idea too. But hopefully that is not really competitive. It can, create conflict. Yeah.
Adjust their and allow them to go to lunch together.
Oh, okay. And this is very similar to research that I read. They find that way to improve relationships in group is to have a chance to eat together. They study firefighter team compared between firefighter teams that have a chance to eat together and not. And it's turned out to be a team that have a chance to eat together routinely have good relationship. And it's become a norm even someone they must eat at home to please their spouse. They have to after eat at home they have to eat again at work to please co-worker, something like that. And in that research they try to explain that eating is behavior that can be very intimate for most of people. They even ask people what makes you very upset if your ex if your boyfriend, girlfriend, lovers do with that ex. And it turned out that, not texting message, it turned out that to have, lunch or dinner with ex is kind of piss off persons a lot. Because maybe this is activity that, we really enjoy. So this is, you can do that, eating out someone out to have lunch, dinner maybe in your team. Alright, so and to modify task structure, maybe come up with boss to give exact way to perform the job, if you would like to increase task structure. And this is modify position power to less position power or maybe to lower position power. But the thing is, in unfit situation, if we experience that, was it more practical to A, change the situation, or B, change your behavior in response to the situation? Which is more practical, change the situation or change your behaviors? Of course. If something that you think is not right and it doesn't fit, the more practical thing is to change your behavior, because it's very hard to change something that you cannot control. Even something about yourself is even hard too. But it's much harder when you change something that you cannot control. Therefore, this theory is not really practical because of those reasons that we have to change situation to match with leader style. Nonetheless, before we talk about that, let's move on. Continue to next theory. This is more popular than Fiedler. You probably saw this before. And this version that we are going to talk about is the original version. It's a little bit different from the current situation. Hersey and Blanchard have different assumptions from Fiedler. Remember, Fiedler have assumption that there's dominant leader style and we have to change situation to fit with leadership style. But for Hersey and Blanchard, leaders have 4 leadership style, and leader can change leadership style to match with situation. Alright, so this is assumption that is a flip side when we look at can we change leadership style for Hersey and Blanchard? Yes, leader can change their style. And those styles are, this is S1, this is style 1, S2, S3, S4. S1, this is called telling. Telling means provide specific instruction and closely supervise performance. Meaning that for this style, leaders tell exactly what he or she wants to do this and that and monitor behavior of followers. This is S1. For S2, selling. Well, actually, the name is not good because when we talk about selling, it's not about selling stuff, product, but it's about explain how to do work. And if employees don't understand, leader have to provide clarification, explain to help employees to perform. That is S2 selling. And for this time, for current version of this idea, is this change to coaching? Because when we use coaching, it's more understandable than just to use go with selling. But when selling with leader, probably not really making sense. So maybe when you read books, they use a coaching style, which is S2. For S3, participating in share ideas and facilitate in decision making. Let employees have inputs in decision making. Delegating, just like delegating to delegate. Turn over responsibility for decisions and implementation. All right. So we have 4 leadership styles. In terms of situation, this is situation. We have R, R1, R2, R3, and R4, which R is follower readiness. When we talk about follower readiness, it depends on can do and will do. If follower can do, and if that follower will do, therefore we have 4 levels of readiness. The lowest level R1 easy, cannot and will not, which is low commitment. Don't want to do and I don't know how to do. But the highest R4 yes, can do and will do. Would like to do, will do, and able to do. Moderate, this is a little bit tricky. For R2, unable but willing, cannot but will do. For R3, can do but don't want to do. And as you can see, S1 go with R1 and it makes sense. If employees don't want to do and cannot do, tell him. Provide specific instruction, do this, do that, and follow them. If they actually do that, that is telling. But for R2, want to do but cannot, coaching, explain. This is the way that you should do. If you don't understand, go ask me anytime. My doors is open, something like that. This is coaching style. But if employees can, be able but don't want to do, how about ask for the idea? Maybe their opinion. If they have a say, it can help for them. It can help, it can help them to increase their willingness to do that. And if they want to do and they know how to do, just give them to do. Give the job, assign the job to them. That's matching between leadership style and follower readiness. And it makes sense, right? Unfortunately, in research, they don't get strong support. And the reason is because in reality, there are more factors than just follower readiness. Maybe this is the reason. And one thing that I find is quite challenge according to this theory, even though in this theory they believe that there are 4 leadership style and a person can actually change leadership style to fit with the situation. But maybe you look at your boss or maybe people around you that if those person can easily change their leader style, maybe most of the time we find that some person they like to stick with the leader style. This is the way that they lead, which is it's typical. But what I'm trying to say is that if you want to be effective leader, it would be nice if you can change your style to fit with the situation. But of course, it's hard. For example, if I ask you, close your hand. Please now, close your hand. Close your hand, please. Yeah, okay. And if I ask you to close your hand again, but different hands, the one on the top have to go below. It's quite, it's difficult. This is just to demonstrate that we stick with the habits. Therefore, sometimes it can be difficult to change the way that we interact on with people. But again, keep in mind that if you can, adapt yourself with situation, that would be great.
Question.
Yes.
I'm wondering about the percentage for each types.
Personality?
Yeah, S1. Actually, in Korea and Japan, S1 is the most common. The most common type. But I'm wondering the ordinary percentage.
When you talk about personality, it's individual, right? It's individual. Maybe one person have this personality and have tendency to have one leadership style that dominate that person. All right, that can be, and this is why it's become challenge for each individual to be able to change his or her leader style. Because sometimes we use that, we go that with maybe this is consistent with our personality. So it's hard, but and maybe it's also influenced from culture. We just mentioned about Japan. That Japanese boss, they also have way. For example, when long time ago actually, when I watched The Face Thailand, you guys familiar with the Face Thailand? You know,
Yeah.
The Face, Piluket.
Look at it's my favorite. I love her face.
I'm surprised. Okay, so for me, I also like Piluget's style. But anyway, when that person who live in Japan for quite a long time, and they try to explain coaching style or leadership style based on the face, from that three coaches we have like B, right? B, Piluget and
Chris.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so you took it. Very good. Unbelievable. And then talking about which the Greek style is Japanese style, and it's turned out Piluget style is more like Japanese boss style. That's like because she tell exactly what she wants, but one thing that's from that article that I would say, but something that will not happen for sure in Japan. When someone say I will try my best, because they say that in Japanese you are supposed to try your best. So you don't have to tell your boss that you will try your best, because this is something that you have to do it anyway. Because this is like that culture. So that's maybe you can have difference from culture.
Because what I work with the backpack company, because they now offering two modules. One of the module they offer on the leaders, but at the same time I think they are trying to avoid the challenge on the leaders. Now they are offering the modules for the subordinates. I'm not sure whether any research is calculating the efficiency of offering not only just in leader side but also on the follower side, on the R side to just adjust to the S.
I'll explain that, but maybe you have to ask. You have to answer me first. When they offer, you say module to follower, what type of module? Exact type of module to a follower?
Yeah, they explain the same concept to the subordinates, but they want the subordinates to look themselves as they are, define themselves whether which are they are really are, and then what S is their boss right now. But when they call for their boss, it's opposite way.
Okay. Actually, this is good that you bring this up. Thank you for bringing that up. I talked about that, last semester, but since I thought that we don't have a lot of time, therefore I skip that part. But since you brought that up, therefore, okay, I talk about that. The reason that I have that topic with the student, because I remember that I read news, And then in that he's talking, they mentioned about business school. They said something like, in business school, how come you guys just teach leadership? But in fact, most people that go to business school are not really in top position as a leader. They are followers. Would it be better for you students if you teach followership instead of leadership? Which is true, but not true. I mean, yes, not all people in business school are in top management position. But I can explain why we teach leadership, not followership. The reason is because let me ask you, what is good followership? And in fact, I have that slide. Let me put that out. You guys seem to have problem with aircon. What is the problem? May I help? It's too cold. Did you tell person outside already?
It's too hot.
Too hot? You from Australia, you're supposed to, just like.
But I'm very hairy though.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. This question. Which of the following is true? A leader is responsible for the quality of relationship with his or her subordinate. B. Followers who protect their leaders from bad news are appreciated. C. Followers should focus on doing good jobs and not try to learn about their manager's style, strengths, or weaknesses. D. Followers should build on mutual strength and adjust to accommodate their leader's style, goals, expectations, and weaknesses. And the best answer is alright, let's start with A. A leader is responsible for quality of the relationship between his or her subordinate. Just a leader? No, actually, quality of relationship between leader and follower should depend on both leader and subordinates. See, it doesn't mean that leader is the one that who have to take all responsibility, to hold the steering wheel. As follower, you have to do something too. It's not just whatever my leader do with me. But if you want to have good relationship with your boss, you have to try. It's not just in your boss' hand. And also, follower who take his their leader from bad news are appreciated? Not really, because you can be a whistleblower that if this is bad, you can tell others. So to prevent more mistake that may happen in the organization. Followers should focus on doing good job and not try to learn about their manager's style, strength, and no. Actually, even follower should try to find strength and weaknesses to adapt and accommodate to leader's style, goal, and expectation and weaknesses. Meaning that, as you can see, that when we're talking about followership and leadership, it's not totally different. Because as leader, you have to find strength, weaknesses of your subordinate, and you also have to be able to harness or use that and adapt with yourself. Just like when we're talking about to play chess, not checker. And we have to, cultivate relationship, if you want to, with subordinate and so on. In the other one, it's not totally different between leadership and followership. It's just, the way that it's different is just responsibility, that one have to be responsible for one thing, and, for followership have to be responsible for another thing. Because to be good follower is not just to take order and do whatever. But to be good follower, you have to be able to think. You have to be able to communicate, to sell your idea with your boss, to work with others. In the other word, even though we talk about leadership, it doesn't mean that you cannot apply that, as your follower and apply that to your leader. You can apply that in terms of you to manage up, not just to manage down. This is the reason why, and since we are business school, we like to set goal to students. If we just talk about followership in business school, it means this is just our goal, just follower. But in fact, we aim for leadership. Therefore, we're talking about something that we aim students to be. But in the process, students can apply what they learn in school. So this is the reason. And to answer your question, even though position different, but content or the thing that they do in terms of being good leader or good follower is not very much different. Therefore, when they bring that module to teach followers, so follower have an idea what they should do. And of course, good follower will not go when they find this is good match and then go to leader and say, wait a minute, my boss, I am R2. So therefore you change to coaching staff to fit with me. It's not the case too, right? So you find, maybe the best way for if you're a follower, you analyze your leader's style. And if your leader's style is maybe S3, so how can you become R3? Something like that. To, adapt yourself to fit with the leader if you are a follower. But if you are a leader, you have to adapt to fit with readiness. All right, so next, this is path goal leadership theory. As you can see, the idea of path goal, and actually this is revised version. That's 8 leader behaviors. Path goal, qualification, achievement oriented, and so and so. House suggested that leaders should use behavior that fit with situation. But talking about situation, these are 2 situations. Environmental factors, for example, like task structure. We saw task structure before in FeedLearn. And employees' characteristics, for example, like need for achievement, experience, need for qualification, we about to see locus of control later. So in the other word, and this is for employee, we just saw from feed for Hershey and Blanchard. So it combined different factors, situation in this theory, which is very ambitious. Because they, he believes that it's just 1, maybe 2, 3, maybe not enough. Therefore, try to incorporate factors that can explain about the situation. But when you apply to many factors, you end up with cannot suggest specific behavior for leader. In the other word, according to this theory, House just said that, okay, look at this factor and feel free to pick one. Hopefully that could get this result. So it's just loose idea. Because it tries to explain reality in management, which is complicated. When they try to explain something complicated, so it's hard to suggest something specific for each situation. All right, so this is House path goal theory. Next, in your current or past job, did your manager behave in the same way to each of people he or she managed? Yes or no? And if no, what was different between the relationship between his or her with each employees? In the other word, according to this theory, which is we call leader-member exchange, believe that there is uniqueness between uniqueness relationship between leader and followers. One leader doesn't have exact relationship with all followers. Maybe something in like situation if you have like two puppies, even though you love the two puppies but not the same love. Something like what my mom told me, when I complained that my mom loved my brother the most. And she said, no, I love everyone exactly the same. But no, it's not the same. We all know it's not the same. Okay, so but it's normal. So, but to make it easy to explain, let's say that a leader has 6 subordinates, have A, B, C, D, and F. We call A, B, C as in-group and D, E, F as out-group. What does it mean by in-group and out-group? In-group means share common bond and value system, interact with leader regularly, leader pay attention to this group, maybe get interesting work to do, that get trust from leaders. That is in group. But for our group, well, leader probably have limited interaction with, receive less challenging work, leader positive reinforcement. So this is how follower can be treated differently, okay, in group and versus out group. Maybe you can think about your situation. Maybe some of you already in group employees, members, or maybe some of you will feel like you are out group. But it's probably interesting to know what makes a person to be in group. What do you think is reason why one person become in group, or maybe out group? Maybe in group first. Yes, just like you said. Why? That's the reason. Actually, I always believe that we have reasons why we like someone or love someone. There's always reasons. Except parents, with children, no reason, unconditional. But for other relationships, we have reasons why we have a feeling or we favor that person. You think why? What makes someone to be in group member? Yes. Past situation. What does it mean by past situation that make you become in group? You've been through thick and thin together. Okay. Okay, maybe yeah. Any other reason? Yeah.
The leader has something different more than others, so it would be more chance that
Actually, the trust is the result. When that person in group, they trust that person. But what makes that person become in group? Yeah, this is something that's in OB. Yeah, organizational behavior. Unfortunately, probably we don't have chance to talk about that. We call it bias. We have bias. One bias that as human being, we have bias. We're not machine, so we have bias. Even AI have bias. Because they have AI to be a judge in beauty pageant, and it's turned out that even AI have bias that pick more white than black women, something like that. And the reason is because the one who programmed AI is a human. So because humans have bias, AI have bias. Anyway, so one bias we call it similar to me effect bias. We like something that's similar to us. The reason is because we like ourselves the most. And that's, one evidence from an article I have studied, I think it's last year, in decision making. We talk about that in decision making, but the idea in that article talking about when we make decisions, it matter very much how we define problems. If we decide problem one way, we're gonna solve problem with the way that we define problems. For example, in one condominium, people complain that elevator very slow. So they identify that elevator is very slow. The way to solve the problem is that they have to change elevator, which is take time and lots of money. But if they, found the same symptom that people wait so long, in that area elevator, but they do not identify that the problem is elevator. They identify the problem is that it takes so long waiting for elevator. They solve problem by they put mirror in that area. So it's get rid of complaints from people because while they're waiting for their elevator, they look at something that they like the most, and they're very beautiful. So this is just, and it didn't cost condominium a lot. Just put mirror instead of change elevator. So this is we talk about that in decision making. The way that we solve this depends very much on the way that we define problem. Anyway, but that mirror thing is just to show similar to me bias. We like something that's similar to us, maybe same background, maybe same something to do for fun. For example, anybody do for dance? Gonna have a favor, but not good. And teacher have to love everyone exactly the same. No favor. Okay. So this is or maybe what we call is compatibility. That's it's compatible. Compatibility between member and leader. That can be, or maybe competence. Maybe competence because employees are good, and we all know that managers depends on employee works. So if employees are good, it's hard to not to like that employees. So that's maybe reason. So in case that if you are in our group and you want to be in group, maybe you can try those things. Maybe create compatibility or prove that you are competent. That can help to develop good relationship with the boss. What if you try everything? Is it possible that your boss still don't like you? It's possible? Yes, possible. So what should you do? Live with it. Because we all have challenge in our life. Alright, so I still believe that when we try with someone, you like someone, it's probably a matter of time that person will like you back. It's just it's always two-way street. This is what I believe. Okay, next is gonna be what we call is contemporary theories of leadership. We begin with charismatic leader, and these are characteristics of charismatic leader. They have vision and articulation, personal wish, willing to take on high personal risk, sensitivity to follower needs, unconventional behavior. Can you guys help me think about example of charismatic leader?
Elon Musk.
Okay, if you say so, because I like him anyway. Yeah, vision. Yes, he have high purpose. He would like to help the world. Personal list, yes. Unconventional behavior, I can see yes. Okay, Elon Musk. Any other example besides what Jacob says? Elon Musk.
Napoleon?
Yes.
Napoleon?
Yeah. Huh?
He's the
King
teacher.
Ramanai.
Okay, yes. Definitely yes. Charisma.
I think Franklin Roosevelt. But
Yeah, okay. But actually, King Rama the Ninth is exceptional. I think he can be all. But the best, I think the one that is, I don't know, if I'm talking about that, religious side, the first person that I came to my mind is King Rama the Ninth. But anyway, wait for that. But actually, we borrow charismatic leadership style
what
from
are the other?
political science because in business, actually, we don't talk a lot about charismatic leader, but in politics, when we vote for some person, maybe not a lot of reasons, just because we like that person. Therefore, this is in the following slides that we have dark side of charismatic leader, because it doesn't mean that charismatic leader gonna be good in all situations. Sometimes when the person have charisma but they act in a way for that one interest, that can be important because that can influence lots of people. So in the other word, maybe just people admire or like that person because of that love and power. So it doesn't mean that that person gonna be a good leader, but for sure that person is what we call charismatic leadership. That's from political science. But what we talk a lot more in business school are as follows. We start with transactional versus transformational. Let's start with transactional. Transactional is just like transaction in accounting. One transaction have debit and credit, meaning that leader can have a follower to do something because leader have something in return, have reward, or leader can reprimand if a follower doesn't follow leader instruction. That is transactional leadership. But for transformational leadership, it means that leader have followers to do because followers would like to do. They do because they are inspired by a leader. So there are three elements in transformational leadership. The first element is charisma. And once again, if a person have strong charisma without the less, without the other two, that person will be just charismatic leader. Which is, when a person have charisma can inspire, can create, emotion, passion, get follower to identify with, to do whatever leader tell follower to do with no reason, because I like that person, I trust that person, I have faith in that person, so I do it anyway because of charisma that person have. Therefore, maybe leaders in like religions, most of them have charisma and what we can categorize as charismatic leader. But to be transformational leadership, we require the second element is intellectual simulation. Ask for idea. Re-examine assumptions. Seek out different views. Work to be innovative. And the last part is consideration. Support. Develop self-confidence. Provide individual attention. Focus on strength. And especially act as a leaders and coaches. And since today is a teacher day in Thailand, you probably know. Therefore, let's talk about teachers just a little bit and with the leader. I think probably this is a good time to talk about teacher and leader because it's this is not my idea. I got from an article again that I read. That article said that the best teacher, the best leader is the great teacher. Okay, that is the title of an article. Anybody can help me to elaborate why the best leader is the great teacher? What does it mean to be a great teacher and how it has something to do with the best leader? Any, yeah?
I think to be a good leader is to help someone to be the best that they can
Mm-hmm.
be. So that involves teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know the person who is the manager or the leader can
Mhm.
teach like within the job scope
Mhm.
and within like how they behave as well, whether
Mhm.
in office or outside, then you know that person is like a leader and also a good teacher. So it comes to
Okay. Well, yes, to be a good leader, you have to act as a teacher and coaches. Meaning that, when we talk about teacher, it means to teach. Okay, to teach. But what does it mean to teach? According to that article, it's not just about to teach about how to do work, but it should involve other things. Maybe, personal life. That's leader can help follower, maybe chat idea. They even like have according to the article, they give example that leader even have like conversation about which is better between empathy and compassion, something like that. As a leader should be which one that will make more sense. You understand empathy and compassion is if you use Thai dictionary, it turns out to be probably the same meaning, but it's not the exactly the same thing. Because when we have compassion, maybe we have like more feeling in a situation. You raise your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say maybe teachers have the ability to inspire the people, because most of the students are younger people, and so you have the chance to inspire them.
Okay, good. That's involve inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that can come from the teacher because the students, young, so they look up to teacher. So teacher can teach about about works or something outside work, and where leader, to act as a teacher can teach. It can be during work or maybe outside work, or maybe some leader can like invent opportunity to teach. For example, some leader probably asks like, okay, who would like to go with me? My car, I still have like room for maybe 3 people. I can give a ride to go back home. So that's the example that one. I think he is CEO of an Indian bank. Actually, use that time to teach his followers, or maybe a party on the weekend. Have a party and on the party, a leader can also use that opportunity to teach. That's about when, meaning that it can be any time. It doesn't have to be on the work time. It can be any time that leader can teach. And how leader can teach. One way, the good way to teach people is to teach by, they call it just like lead by example. It's probably will not if you just have like lip service, you have to walk the talk, meaning that if you want someone to do this and that, you have to behave in a way which is this is what great teacher do, and leaders should do too. And most importantly, this is gonna be hard in English. Jacob, you can help me come up with the English term, because for me it is essential to be, something that makes teacher different from instructor, to me at least. I believe that teacher have something they call what's this in English? Kindness, yeah. But in Thai it's more than kindness, right? It's like good intention, that because when I think that is, and I think it's same for good leader that should have for follower. Yeah. So that's and in terms of transaction versus transformation, we don't want you to pick one. They can be add-on, which is both transaction and transformation. Because if you just transformational without no reward. And with more, this is human. And for transaction, it's just only transaction. You have something in return, but you have no inspiration. It's probably will not last long. It's not probably just get behavior but not attitude. Therefore, these two should add on together. And this is what leadership style that I think will be very best to be described by King Lamar IX. That we call servant leadership. Most of the time when we talk about leaders, some people have an idea that leader is the one that who have others to serve them. But actually, it's, when we talk about servant leadership style, someone that who serve other, caring for wanting to help other, conscious choice cause one to aspire to lead, trust is given to leaders who work for the common good. Focus on helping, generosity, orientation that fulfill the desires of giving, encourage trust, listen, ethical use of power, empowerment. That's focus on helping. This is what we call servant leadership. And these 3 ways: access, communication, support. To be servant leader, maybe we can explain with access, like accessible. The door is open. It's not very difficult. I even see a lot more CEO nowadays that they have line, group line, that every employees in the company have CEO line. So employees can send line, text message directly to CEO. I think this is pretty common. Yeah, in Thailand, which is good in terms of accessibility, communication, listen effectively, or meetings with employees, following support, providing guidance. Okay, last, authentic leaders have be true to the core value, act that's consistent to the real them. That is what we call authentic leader. All right. So that's leadership. So and as you can see that's more like big picture. But in fact, if we would like to practice leadership, we have to understand people make decisions and so on. Therefore, next we will continue with elements, just like a jigsaw, to help us to improve leadership. So we begin with individual differences in terms of personality. Which is we have case. How about we take a break? And after a break, we will first, before case, we continue with article. Let's discuss about article, and then after we finish article, we will continue with the case. Right?
This word, no typos. Tusk. What is it? Tusks. Like that. Tusks. No typos in this. I never met one.
Can you pronounce this word?
Nowadays.
Listen. You'll never, like next time she says it, you will never miss it again.
Yeah.
Every time you say no.
It was my pronunciation.
Correct? Of course, yeah. And then, that's correct. Yeah, that was usually said.
You should pay attention.
R and L pronunciation. Yeah, makes me struggle a lot at the beginning. I'm more than used to. Most of the Asians they pronounce not all cases. For example, average. They can't pronounce average.
Actually, even
Error. Is it
really going to take me 1 hour?
Can you pronounce R and L? No, R and L.
In the presentation, there will be there will be a part about our presentation focus on memory and emotion, and then one of the factor that affect the mood of employee is day of the week, but the article said the textbook said that for Japanese culture it's not that common to be down on different day of the week. As can you comment on that? Would you be able to comment on that?
Yeah, case one.
It's in the chapter, it's not in the
Oh,
case.
okay.
But they are saying that the textbook is saying that so most Japanese people will feel like they are fine with working extra like the OT and everything, so Monday will be like nothing. Is it true? Like do you feel that
วันเป็นมา3 วันแล้วเจ
ใช่ใช่แบบ
คือไม่รู้
can you add on that just that yeah you
แสบคอ
วิวเวียนใจแย่แล้วเนี่ย
to be like interactive but don't know if it will work.
Somewhere somehow it passed through since those 2 years, but like a bit changed.
Yeah, you can comment. Just keep your comment too. Thank you so much, Susano.
นี่ไง
ได้ละ2 คนแต่พี่เอิร์ธแบบกูไม่ทันข่าวไม่ไหวแล้วใช่ไหม
แกฉันถืออย่างนี้ The case hello
ฉันว่าฉันใช้ได้
one two three ฉันไม่สามารถในการแต่ hello Ashmi hello Ashmi this is our concert
มีอะไรกินอ่ะขนมปังเค้กเอาหมูมากินก็ได้
I'm really scared.
me too อ่ะ Ashmi
I'm Joy. This is sadness.
No about emotion and mood. เอาด้วยมีสูตรด้วย I'm coming from airport.
I went to airport. I don't have to, but then see too. This is like
usually we should not have meeting at airport.
I had meeting.
Why? What who is your customer? That's why he doesn't have for you meeting. And you speak with him, you แบบเขาเรียกอะไร quickly to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Extraordinary. Impeccable.
I'm Joy. This is sadness. That's angry. This is disgust. And that's fear. Fear. Riley's emotions. I'm Joy. This is sadness. That's angry. This is disgust. And that's fear. Fear. Riley's emotions.
ไปอ่ะ necessary to have you want to show
No.
as soon as I get up, as soon as I get up,
The black one.
as soon as I
Perfect. You have blazer, no? You have coat.
Emotion usually caused by specific event. They are very big in duration and specific and numerous in nature such as anger.
Can you like take paper in hand?
You can. Are you sure? Sure. Everyone have paper in hand. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Good, na? Because I have no idea.
Why you don't
Can I
have?
have mobile in hand?
Yes, me too.
Mobile?
I think read and flow are better than
But not read, but not flow. Yeah.
1 2 3
ไปคาราโอเกะกันไหมฉันรู้แล้วว่าใครร้อง
I don't
ใคร
know
ชอบจับไมค์ฉันรู้แล้ว
ไม่ฉันร้อง
I know who is the one that love singing and dancing
I think I can dance now, but I can't sing now. Sing a
You
song.
can do everything.
ชีแล้วคาราโอเกะ
I can do everything except
ลุกไลค์
exam.
Highly emotional intelligence which is very important in people who have emotional intelligence manage themselves and other emotions. They are able to use control of
Emotion usually occur cause is often general is consider that emotion may be positive and negative. They are most are generally not indicated by this expression and they are positive emotion. Actually, in now we cannot define the specific reason feature, we cannot define the specific of emotion. However, there are basic emotions which are surprise, joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness. ฉันลองพูดใหม่ก่อนได้ปะ
แล้วแต่แกเลยไม่มีใครเลย
จริงเหรอ
เอาอีกอัน
First we should get to know about emotion and mood
อย่าขำ
เอาใหม่ First we should get to know about emotion and mood. What do they mean and what are the differences between emotion and mood? ดิฉันกลัวแก
ไม่ต้องกลัวแก
Don't. Nobody knows more than you.
I think I scared
He
my
already
voice.
เจ๊ก็บอกปกติ
Do you want me to like ask him to leave the class? Come on, you can do it.
เอาใหม่ละ
Yeah.
เอามา
First, we should get to know about emotion and mood. What do they mean and what are differences between?
Emotion usually caused by specific event that are related in duration, also specific numbers in nature such as anger, fear, sadness, and so on. Emotion usually appear in our facial emotion expression that nature. From mood, cause it's often general
ทำไมทุกคนจะแปลกใส่เสื้อขาววะอีนี่ทำไมอยู่ในคนทำไมจมูกก็แห้งปากคอแห้งจมูกแห้งเป็นแมสเนี่ยฉันนั่งอยู่ในห้องฉันรู้สึกเป็นไข้อะแกทำไมล่ะ
Let's move on to emotion regulation
ไปฉีดแล้วเอา
Hello First we should
แม่
say
เอาขนมปังไหมหรือไม่กิน
Hello First
specific and numerous emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, and so on. Emotion usually appears in our facial expression, it can be at nature.
ฉันว่ายืนเฉยๆก็สั่นแล้ว
ตอนเดินได้
我们这。
But we should get to know about emotion and what they mean and what to influences usually were caused by specific events. They are in substantial belief that there are regulations of specific Emotion usually appear in your facial expression, reacting as nature. For me, response is often general and unclear. They stay longer than emotion, positive and negative. Mood are general and complicated by this investigation, and they are cognitive emotions. Actually, 4 months. I don't know, maybe 3 months for sure.
บอกเขาหรือยังว่าแอร์
บอกแล้วค่ะ แล้วเขาได้มา เขาบอกว่ารถแอร์เป็นนิ่งแล้วก่อนหน้าที่ท่านก่อนหน้ามันน่าจะแบบหนาวก่อนอาการยังหนาว
แต่ว่ามีการที่หนาวเกินไปเนี่ยมันไม่ได้คนก็เปลืองไฟเราก็ไม่แฮปปี้เลยขนาดที่รู้สึกทำให้เราไม่แฮปปี้ Okay, we're back. Let's continue with article. Alright, so we start with ideas, details from article, and after that we talk about what we learned from this article. Okay, how about we start with how Harvard they came up with the ranking in the other criteria that are used in this ranking. Anybody would like to tell us about how they came up with the ranking? This is form just in the article. Okay, very good. That's how we because they want to be objective. They could, probably think about maybe CEOs that are well known. Maybe by using just perception or something subjective. Maybe they everything is just CEO that are popular, but they would like to get something objective that should drive business result. Therefore, they look at financial performance, mainly. In the beginning, at the first year, but when they did this, they just look at financial number, and it turned out that they got criticism that is it right, just look at the financial result, what about other things? Therefore, this year, but actually it's not the first time that they include what they call ESG, which is environmental and social and governance. You can understand governance, to pay attention on stakeholders and be transparency. That is the governance, and that is 20% of the total score. 80% come from financial performance, which they adjust in terms of industry adjusted, country adjusted, and so on, to make sure that it's gonna be fair for everyone. And where the CEO comes from, when they look at CEO, this came from Fortune 500, right? global. Therefore, this is the claim. It's the best performing CEO in the world because they look at Fortune 500 global. All right, and it's end up with have something company and with CEO and co-CEO. That's I don't know where I should stand. Anyway, let me try this location. That's how they came up with the ranking. All right, and let's talk about results. Okay, what about results? Anybody would like to tell us about results? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Can I see your name? Supachai.
It was said that in 2018, the number of female CEO in the top 100 increased by 50%.
50%, and the number of 50% is 3. Because last year is 2. Okay. Does it mean something or anything? Does it mean something or anything? According to this article, they mentioned that. Does it? What did they say? What does it mean?
It doesn't mean that females are worse. It means that there's a very low representation in the S&P.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it doesn't mean that it's not about female executive are not good or bad. Just because among CEO, there's very few female CEO. Therefore, always mentioned, that have very few female that make it to top 100. So this is what they, try to take it to talk about that. Maybe because issue of sexual discrimination is a big issue. Therefore, they want to make things clear that not about sexual discrimination per se, but just because we have not a lot of female executives. But for your information, if we look at all in Thailand, this is not the case in Thailand. Thailand is one country that have more CEO in C-suite in top level. All right, so that's about number of female, and it turned out that most people who make it to the top 100 also appear before, right? They have like 70, maybe like 70 or 100 leaders in the last year ranking to appear again this year. And anything else? They also are talking about this and from that, since the same faces in its ranking. Therefore, they try to talking about even though it's the environment is change very fast, savvy competitor, demanding customer, profit hungry investor, but maybe stability. This is what we see from those companies that they can sustain and still doing very well from those companies. All right. So anything else from this article that you find interesting? Yes. Okay, 6. And when we're talking about every year, start from maybe the first year that they have Okay, very good. And by the way, first year that they did this ranking, the person who made it to number 1 is Jeff Bezos, which is just have news about his divorce. Since he didn't have prenup, therefore it's become like he is the richest man on earth. But after divorce, maybe he's not the richest man on earth. After he has to probably having hash with his ex-wife, and his ex-wife gonna make it to top 5 richest woman on earth. Actually, good for her. Not bad. Okay, but anyway, but the reason that when first year 2013 maybe that Jeff Bezos made it to number 1. After that, Jeff never made it to even top 50. The reason is because problem with ESG. Because after the very first year that they use just financial number with that criticism. So later they ask ESG score. In the beginning they just use just 10%, but even 10% Jeff Bezos cannot make it to top 50 anyway, because Amazon have issue about concern for stakeholders. Well, something maybe similar in Thailand that there's story that when you want to sell your stuff on Amazon, in the beginning you seem to doing very well, you sell going up, but later it seems like your sales going down and down. When you look at what causes the problem, it turns out that there's someone that like make exactly type of product that you just make and sell on Amazon, and the price is way cheaper than your products, and that person is Amazon. Something similar in Thailand. Did you see what I mean? Okay, so and this is ethics, become like reputation. Therefore, well, even they try to do something, for example, to show that, well, actually we show our concern. For example, we have building that's preserve energy and so and so. But he still cannot make it to top 50, as is among the one that who appear every year since the first year, and they try to look at something that's help us to explain. This year, they look at, well, maybe the test of leader is how they adapt to environment, right? Because since our environment changes very fast, and that environment is what they call global political environment. It's not just in Thailand that we have like the issue that we probably nowadays it's not. Probably it's not very, very hard, but maybe, it's really getting close to every problem is going to be something else. But anyway, of course, in the United States, they're talking about that President Trump will just, take very strong viewpoints and sometimes, quite contrast to lots of what people would think. Therefore, it's become challenge, especially in the American community. But, this article talk about two contrasting viewpoints regarding political issue. Okay. Well, anybody would like to share about that? What who they are? The two CEO that look at political viewpoint differently, but two of them make it to top 100 best performing CEO. The first one that is mentioned
Satya Nadella.
is Satya Nadella, our CEO of Microsoft. And what is his standpoint?
He said that he has not been elected by anybody, so it's not his role to actually stand up for particular positions unless they are directly related to Microsoft's business.
Yeah, just if it's directly involved with Microsoft, so he will say something. If not, he try to stay away from political issue. But another person is Jamie Dimon, which is he made it to number 22, and he said that, well, actually, if you want to be good guys, you have to good citizen. You have to show your talent by taking your political standpoint. This is his view. All right, and in the article also said something like, well, taking or not taking political points publicly doesn't have direct effect on score, ESG score, but it may have indirect effect because it shows how you take part in maybe social, in environment and so on. That's about this. And also let's talk about ranking. The one who ranked number 1 is Paulo Islam last year, and this year also Paulo Islam. And number 2 last year. Number 2 last year is Martin Sorrell, and he's not appeared in this year because Martin Sorrell of WPP. It's mentioned in this article what happened. Yes, very good. He had a problem. Allegation. Okay, anybody, what is it? After you visit, what is it? I would like to know. He's has an allegation that he's used company money to buy sex. That this is allegation, and therefore he resigned. That and so he's not qualified in this ranking. But use company money to buy sex. Probably is his own money, maybe no problem. But well again, it can be an issue. If you executive, you're not supposed to do that. Responsible. This is America. This is not Thailand. If Thailand is probably okay. Everybody probably can do that. Anyway, that's about number 2. But anyway, back to number 1, Paulo Isla. Let's talk about his leadership style. For his leadership style, he's a private person that doesn't want to be on spotlight. For example, when a company have maybe to open new factory, he will not be the one who cut the ribbon because he doesn't want to be spotlight. He just want to do all the work. And he also believes that at work it would be better if we treat everyone just like a star. So to him, he said that we should give everyone equal importance. Meaning that it's probably different from some company that have talent management program that pick someone to be that talent put on fast track and gives maybe special compensation or special treatment for the group of talent. But for this company, no, because everyone are equally important to the company. Which is I find that this philosophy is quite similar to Google. Google is one company that doesn't have talent management program. The reason is because they would like to make everyone to feel like everyone is our star, not just someone is a talent which high potential employees. And from experience, Google said that they used to have talent management program, but it turned out that talent today will not be talent in next 3 or 5 years because things change very fast. This is the reason why Google doesn't have talent management program in the company. When they're talking about talent management, you can understand what it is. It's been like special program for a company that pick someone, employees to be what they name high potential employee and give special treatment for the group of employees. Anyway, we talk about that in details. That's his philosophy of running the company. And when he's asked what he see himself in the long term, he said that he would like to retire as Inditex. So this is from what his interview. Just for your information, if you would like to know more about Paulo Isla. Okay, so we turn to pages that show faces of CEO who make it on the list. And interesting that as you can see numbers that maybe 1/3 of those CEO has MBA. Therefore, just to confirm that you are doing the right thing. So keep going. If you find it's too difficult for me to manage between work and school. Okay, but this is something that probably will be worth it in the long term. Okay, so that. And 1/3, also about 1/3 that have background in engineering. What do you think about this issue? How come? Are engineers smarter than other occupations? Yes. Because they probably maybe they are trained 4 years in school, systematic thinking, cause and effect, and this is conceptual skill. If you recall, we have conceptual, we have human skill, and we have technical skill. And we are talking about CEO. Therefore, conceptual skills are important. But it doesn't mean that you must have background in engineer to have good conceptual skill, to have, to be able to think systematically. We can practice ourselves in terms of thinking. Okay, so try to practice with, think a lot. Thinking is just different from other resources that the more that we use, the more that we have. So this is something that we got. And on average, they become CEO at age 44 and have been in the office 60 years. And interesting that 87 are insiders, meaning that not from someone outside and get a job as a CEO, that they from inside move up from lower level to CEO position. Alright, and this is what we see. Anything else that you find interesting and you would like to discuss about this article? Would it be nice to do this type of ranking in Thailand? Maybe. It's hard to be July. So if we come up with the ranking. So okay, that's the ranking. That's it. Maybe something that you can learn. All right. So I don't want to spend too long on this article because we still have a case study. Therefore, let's continue with the case. Book 1, please.
These guys are very brave to go first. Yeah, proud of them. We're gonna deliver a presentation fee? No? We're gonna deliver a presentation fee. I think we all have to share for this one. It's not like marketing where you should have one creative director. What do you think? Like marketing should have one creative director, one more.
I'm joy. This is sadness. That's anger. This is disgust. And that's fear. Fear by these emotions.
This is such a good show.
Inside out. Inside out. Inside out. Yeah.
Okay, class.
According to the video that you have seen, can you guess what is the topic that we're going to present today?
Pizza.
Pizza? No pizza. Please show the slide, please. This is the topic that we're going to present today. It's about emotion and mood. And our case study is about hiring an emotional intelligent employee. And this is the agenda for today. We will start with case study, and then we will introduce you on emotional and mood, what is the difference of them. We will continue with the thought of emotion and mood, emotional labor, effective event of theory and emotional intelligence, emotional regulation, OB application of emotional and mood, and then we will summary. Please, okay. And the case is talking about how to hiring emotional intelligent employee, which is very important in the organization. The people who have emotional intelligence will understand and manage their own and other emotions very well. They're able to deal with the stress, obstacle, the problem, and inspire others to work toward the goal of the company. However, normally when we hiring people, we just look at their grade, and maybe we look where they graduated from and their technical skill or any certification. Of course, we need a smart and experienced people in our company, but this kind of criteria may not allow you to know whether the people that you're hiring has a emotional intelligence or not. So how do we know that we select the right person? At the end, the case will give you a technique of it. But before we going through the case, to be better understand about the case, and I will let my friend explain about it first. Okay, please enjoy.
First, we should get to know about emotion and mood. What do they mean, and what are differences between emotion and mood? Emotion usually caused by specific event, and they are very brief in duration, also specific and numerous in nature, such as anger, fear, sadness, and so on. Emotion usually appear in our facial expression. We act it as nature. For mood, cause is often general and unclear. They stay longer than emotion and may be positive and negative. Moods are generally not indicated by distinct expression, and they are cognitive in nature. Actually, in real world, we cannot define the specific word of the emotion. However, there are the 6 basic emotions. First, surprise, and then joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness.
This is the mood map. It show how you feel against your energy. You can see that it consists of two axes. That is on horizontal axis it is positivity, and on vertical axis is energy. It can separate to 4 quadrants, that is anxiety, such as when you angry. For action, maybe when you feel exciting. For Thai, when you fear. And for calm, when you affection. For example, when a small child runs through the busy road, 4 types of people on the last slide. For Thai people, they may feel oh, how awful, but maybe do nothing, just talk to themselves, and then just think that child may die. For a person with a mood with anxiety, they may panic, scream out loud. For a person with action mood, may run without thinking to the road to help the child. For a person who calm may think how to act and like save the child from anger, from danger.
So sources of emotion and moods can depend on these various aspects such as personality of each person, time of the day. So maybe you would feel like best in your morning or like best at night. It's vary to each of the person. And time of the day of the week as well. Most people would maybe be depressed on having to go to work on Monday, happy on Saturday and Sunday. Weather, like whether it's hot, it's cold, stress, social activities, sleep, exercise, age, and sex as well. So for this two graphs, we show the time of the day that people would feel like more like feel good or like bad throughout the day. So starting from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. at night, and you mostly would feel like down here, and this is at 8 a.m. around, and then this would go up, and next this is also an example of the day of the week, but in the book it also said that, but it varies to our different culture as well. So each country may have like a specific day that they are feeling like more energetic. For example, the book mentioned that in Japanese culture that Monday doesn't affect them as much. Can you give like as an example?
Yeah, we are highly motivated for our work. That's why.
Actually, they just have new policy they call Shining Monday. Yeah. Before they have Shining Monday, they have Premium Friday. Because Japanese work very hard, therefore government have policy like Premium Friday that you have to leave work early on that Friday to do personal stuff, enjoy life. And then lately they have Shining Monday, which is allow for you to go to work. I think in the afternoon. Yeah. That is what they call Shining Monday. Because
even government want to promote that kind of systems, but it's not work in the real companies. Like nobody take the Premium Friday that much. Maybe around 80% work normally.
Why? I would.
They have a company culture as well.
Company culture
Everybody is not motivated.
We're not get used to it. That's why.
I think Premium Monday to Friday sounds good.
Because maybe you don't want to look bad, even though this is government policy, but if you so eager to leave work too early, you different from lots of people, so probably you not dedicate enough to the company maybe.
Yeah, normally we stay in the company for 40 years. That's why like the atmosphere in the company is highly important than other countries. Like we don't have opportunity for job hopping. That's why maybe.
But actually I admire that work ethics, that guy worked very hard. I think it's good. Yeah, because when I go to Japan, I also, admire that, nobody in Japan that, why they are never taking this support. Which is even in Thailand, even the security or, maybe people who are supposed to give you service, they're just so busy with that support, which is, I think it's not professional. But in Japan, you don't see that, which is, I admire that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. And so I would just like to give you some definition of the words that is interesting to me. So first is emotional labor. So let's define that. Emotional labor is a situation in which an employee expresses organizationally desired emotion, even though during the interpersonal transaction at work, right? So sometimes you're feeling like something else, but it's like emotionally desired to you from, like, let's say you're a waitress, so you have to be happy, like serving your customer, even though you're like sad or whatever. That's the emotional labor. So felt emotion is the feeling that you are actually feeling so it's defined as an individual's actual emotion. And display emotions is the emotion that are organizationally required and considered appropriate. So that doesn't always mean that you have to be happy all the time, such as, let's say if you work in a funeral home, you can't be cheerful, you have to at least be like neutral or sad. That's the example of like the expected emotion that you're supposed to display. And also in work environment as well, like you're expecting to be seen in a certain way.
若い人はいるわね。楽しそうで。レツコさん。ちょっと。こことこことここ。この顔も間違ってる。どうしちゃったの？最近大変でらっしゃるわね。一体何しに会社に来てるのかしら？仕事です。はあ。遊びに来てるんでしょ？だから会社でこんな顔ができるんでしょ？ほらとっても楽しそう。いいわね。遊んでお金がもらえるなんて。
確かに間違ったのは私だ。
So the facial expression that cheese is normally seen in, that's the facial expression that is expected for everyone in the work environment to be like pleasant to work with, to be pleasant to work with, right? But the character here sometimes like you would have like very emotion, you wouldn't have this emotion like all day, every day, especially when your boss is yelling at you like that. But it's expected. That is the display emotion and felt emotion. And also next is the surface acting, which is to hide one feeling and foregoing emotion expression in response to display rules. So surface acting would just be playing pretend, just pretend to be happy just on the surface. But deep acting is the difference is that deep acting is that you are trying to alter your own emotion itself. So modify one true feelings based on the display rule. So you're expected to be happy, so you are altering your own emotion, you're changing your inner self to be happier. And so sometimes surface acting and the emotion you feel is different, so that would cause emotional dissonance, which is inconsistency between what you are projecting and what you're feeling. And I would like to show you the case of the emotional labor, which is usually like the clearest example would be in the service industry, which is this Uber driver.
As soon as I get out,
you not doing nothing. God, I'm telling you twice to hit me.
Okay, say whatever you want. Yeah. All right. Let me get out here. You get on my car.
No,
I'm telling you.
Call
Exit my car. You're not going. I'm not taking you nowhere. Yeah.
So that's just an example. That as he is in the service industry and he have to he accommodate his customer, even though like whatever the story behind it, whatever she's angry about, but he is a service giver, so he is expected to remain calm, to be mindful on the road as well, and also be pleasant to the customer. So if anyone in the class have ever experienced this,
but in Thailand it's the other way around.
You experience it the other way around. So yeah, has anyone ever experienced that before? Like when you have to be pleasant and
yeah, I think most of the service like roles, because I used to be a lead teller officer, and the one sitting on the counter at the back and doing the deposit and withdrawal for you. So like a customer will come in and complain about the credit card, which has nothing to do with me, and they will be complaining about it 30 minutes or so. And you have to keep like smiling and then say that you understand. Yeah, I understand. It's very powerful. Yeah, I'll take this as a comment from you. you or whatsoever. And after the 30 minutes finish, and the customer just said that, oh, by the way, I know this is not like with regards to you, but thanks for listening. So and I was like, you know that it's not with me, but like I think that's what we have to do when we're working in a service role.
So do you think that if you have to do that like on a maybe let's say daily basis or whatever, would that affect you like in a
Of course, I think that's why the services usually it has a high turnover. Like for example, those person who work in call centers or something like that, they won't work for long. So it's not like a permanent job. So it seems it's mostly a high like entry level jobs. So I think that's combining with the stress you get from work. It turns out that people don't really enjoy taking that much.
And maybe the person, maybe if you certain that person, probably you can take that pressure, or maybe you take it into your emotion, maybe when it's done stuff. But maybe you are certain that person, maybe it's it carry away with that emotion.
So you think that the effect, the long lasting effect of the emotion disorder thing would be vary throughout each personality of the person, right?
And can be from can be different from people to people.
Thank you. So,
Okay, next topic we're gonna talk about the empathy event theory. Actually, it's not typical. It is the impact of events in workplace on employees' attitude and behavior. The theory says that workplace events cause emotional reactions on the part of employees, which then influence employees' attitude and behavior. To give you more understanding, let's talk about the Google case. As you know that Google is a very big company that has a very good environment and has a very wonderful workplace, so that it can create it can create an events that can cause and enhance employees' performance. And for some research, it said that the employees in Google and the top company has the performance about 40% higher than average, and one of the cause and the reason is from this effective event theory. This is about the effective event theory. So next we're gonna talk about the emotional intelligence.
Okay, next let's move to the important part of our topic today, the emotional intelligence. What is that? That is the ability to know and manage your own emotion as well as your people, the people around you. The people who have the emotional intelligence tend to make the people around you feel better and can inspire the people around you, as well as they are one of the factors that make the organization perform better. The statistic they said that about 58% of the performance of yours came from your EQ, it's not IQ, and the person who have more EQ will tend to make more benefit on the salary than the people who less the EQ. And sure that 90% of the performers have high EQ. And EQ is not like the IQ that cannot develop. It can develop as long as according to your experience. And today I have one video that will tell you about the example of the emotional intelligence in the workplace. It talk about the manager of the team who have caused the situation that cannot control his emotion and lead to the diminishing his team performance. Okay.
Javier is a manager at a large aerospace company. He recently received some honest feedback from a member of his team and realized it is difficult for him to keep his emotions in check and recognize the emotions of his team members. This issue diminishes his team's effectiveness and performance, and he wants to do something about it. Penny, one of Javier's peers, is known for her diplomatic approach to leadership, so he reaches out to her for some advice. Penny suggests that Javier start developing his emotional intelligence. Penny directs Javier to an article by John D. Mayer and Peter Salovey that defines emotional intelligence as the ability to perceive and express emotion, assimilate emotion and thought, understand and reason with emotion, and regulate emotion in the self and others. Penny also points Javier to the work of Daniel Goleman, who identified 5 components of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skill. Self-awareness involves recognizing which emotions you are experiencing, why you are experiencing them, and how those emotions affect those around you. Self-regulation is the ability to take control of negative emotions, keep them in check, suspend judgment of them, and think before acting. Motivation is the desire to pursue and achieve goals with an optimistic attitude. Empathy is the ability to recognize and understand other people's emotions. And social skill involves managing relationships and building rapport with the people around you. After exploring these concepts and discussing them with Penny, Javier realizes that his team's diminishing performance is a direct reflection of his own negative emotions during the past few months and his unwillingness to acknowledge the emotions of his team members. This combination of factors has damaged his team. This is an important revelation. Javier thinks negative emotions lead to negative results, and then he asks himself, could positive emotions lead to positive results? He decides to find out. Javier sets 3 immediate goals for himself. Begin to identify the emotions he experiences and why he feels them. Strive to empathize with and acknowledge his team members' emotions, and lead with optimism rather than pessimism. During the next few weeks, he discovers that some of the negative emotions he had brought to work stemmed from issues he was having outside of work. He acknowledges this problem and makes a personal commitment to keep non-work-related issues out of the workplace. Javier's team members begin to notice a difference in how he interacts with them. Javier often asks for their opinions and acknowledges how they feel about the issues and challenges they face as a team. Through more reading, further discussions with Penny, and conscientious practice, Javier distills what he has learned about emotional intelligence into a 3-word phrase: recognize, regulate, react. He tells Penny, first, I recognize my emotions and the emotions of those around me. Then, I regulate any negative or disruptive emotions that my teammates and I may be experiencing. I want to reach a place of calm, mutual understanding, before we react to whatever situation or decision we are facing. Strong leaders such as Penny, and soon Javier, know that emotions are a part of being human, and that properly channeled emotions can have a positive impact on personal, team, and organizational performance. By exploring and acknowledging his own emotions, empathizing with his team members, and developing his emotional intelligence, Javier steers his team to a successful quarter.
Okay, after the example, we see the clear more about the emotional intelligence in workplace life. Okay, I will summary a bit. For the Javier case, his problem came from his negative emotion, and he ignored his team member emotion, and both of these will lead to the problem and the performance of his team will drop. And after he realized that it has to be improved, the performance is going to be improved. And next slide, please. I will state that more and emphasize more about the characteristic of the emotional intelligence. It includes about the self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, social skill, and empathy. And next, I have a game to let you guys know more about the emotional intelligence. How emotional intelligent are you? Let's play a game. I will start. For the instruction.
So the question is for you to tell which facial expression he's using. So first, who think is flirtatiousness? Raise your hands who think he's being flirtatious. Okay, next. You can keep track of your score as well. So next, interest. Okay, thank you. The next, happiness. Okay, thank you. And last, politeness. Thank you. So the answer is?
The answer is happiness. This one is the classic display of the genuine smile with the signal of the happiness. This one is the easiest part of our game, you know.
Okay, so next.
So for next.
Okay, so what do you think of this facial expression? So first is fear. Who thinks is fear? Okay, next, interest. Okay, next, surprise. Wow, a lot of surprises. Compassion. Okay, and the answer is?
The answer is surprise. Yeah, surprise is often confused with the fear, but as the scientists said that the lower eyelid will tighten and eyebrow will look flat and tense more when we are afraid. So this one is surprise.
And next is, so who think he's expressing sadness? Okay, next, pain, anger. Oh, a lot of pain and anger. Disgust. Okay, and the answer is?
The answer is anger.
Anger.
Yes, people often confuse about anger and disgust. And next.
Next. So first, who think this is embarrassment? Thank you. Sadness, amusement, and shame. And the answer is
embarrassment. Because when we are ashamed, our head moves straight down more than and not either side, and we don't smile. This one is the embarrassment.
And next. This one is quite hard. So the first one, pride. Who think is pride? The second one, contempt, excitement, and then lastly, anger. And the answer is
Pride.
Pride.
Yes, this one is also confused with the contempt. Okay, we'll stop again. The time. And for the
Did
summary
any of you get all of it correctly? That's one of the key that you can tell your emotion intelligence as well, to be able to see what people are expressing.
So I will summary about the emotional intelligence. It's the thing of the ability to perceive the emotion on yourself and then understand what is its meaning, or not only yourself, people around you as well, and understand what is meaning and then regulate the emotion and make it more perfectly effective to the situation around you. Okay. Next, please.
Okay, let's move on to the emotion regulation. When you are feeling down or facing the hard situation, even during work or in daytime, you will try to find a way to control your emotion, or basically just to cheer yourself up. But it requires degree of acting and effort in order to react appropriately. we express various of emotion during the day, which these can be categorized into zones of emotion. As you can see in the blue zone, as per the color, you are feeling down, blue, and moving slowly, and even a lack of energy to work, which is will not be good. Or even in the red zone, this means that you are in danger now. You are not ready for work, very angry, very aggressive. So we can see that in the green zone is the ideal zone for work. In this state, you are ready to learn, to work, and can focus on work as well. Okay, there are a few strategies to keep you in the green zone. The first one is emotion suppression. This one is basically to control your facial expression. Even deep inside you are sad or a bit angry, but you still have to smile on your face. Just this is the initial expression. And in terms of cognitive reappraisal, you recognize the problem, you accept that you are under pressure, and you try to evaluate them and change your mindset. Which one is the most effective way? Also, social sharing can help. When you can discuss with someone about your pressure, speak out to your colleagues also can help. And also the last one, mindfulness. This one is you try to calm your inner peace and try to let go. In some company that there are also the way to help their employees to deal with emotion. Just like focus on you. This one is the hotline for employee. Can make a call to the psychologist for free. Sometimes they can discuss about personal matter or even something confidential. At least you have someone to discuss and consult with. Also, in some company, I believe that most of you guys company have these kind of activities. Like we have like weekly exercise to calm your inner peace, mostly yoga, or even in the company I'm working with, we have Muay Thai session every Wednesday. Even Muay Thai, you can release your tension. You don't need slow movement to calm your emotion, and it affect you have activity to release your tension and also good for your body and mind.
In this section, I'll tell how emotion and mood can help you understand the ability and predict selection process, decision making, creativity, motivation, leadership, and so on. Firstly, selection. Nowadays, recruiters are hiring selecting people based on their EI score, which is emotional intelligence score. For example, an investigation by US Air Force showed employees hired in recent years based on the emotional intelligence score have been 2.6 times more successful than people who hired earlier without EI score. For decision making, creativity and motivation, it highly depends on the person's mood. If it's positive, things are good for you, but if it's negative, it might go downwards. Moving on to the leadership. Leadership for a leader, for example, a leader is making a speech. His current emotion and mood highly depends on how the number of audience is engaging towards him. It also depends on how the audience can accept or reject the message the leader is trying to convey. In this, leader also tries to read emotion and mood of the audience. because he can make emotionally changed environment, and an emotionally changed person is freely able to accept the change. For example, politicians, even though they know the polls that they are going to lose, but they have this confidence, and the speeches show that people will change their mind. For customer service, it's very important because it will help for better customer relationship. If a salesperson have a good positive emotion and mood, the customer tend to engage a lot more and would be long-lasting and loyal towards you. If the salesperson mood is negative, the customer tend to have the feeling that the salesperson lack responsibility towards them, and they tend to change the salesperson. For deviant workplace behavior, it means anyone who has spent time in an organization realizes people often behave in a way that violate the norms and threaten the organization. For safety also, when a person is in negative mood, they often are distracted, and distraction leads to careless behavior, which is not good.
Okay, after listening to all information that our group members present, so I hope you guys understand more about emotional intelligence. So let's come back to the case. Hiring an emotionally intelligent employee. The article about this topic was published in Harvard Business Review in 2016 by Annie McKee. She is the respected academic at the University of Pennsylvania and also the best-selling author books about leadership. Annie talked about how to hire EI employees, which is a challenge that the company have to face. Normally we can access EI easily, so she provided guidance about how to hire EI employees with 3 don'ts and 2 do's. The first one is don't use personality tests as a means of testing for EI, because most of these tests normally can measure the core of EI, such as self-awareness, empathy, or inspirational leadership. The second one is don't use a self-report test, because someone may be not self-aware, or if someone they are self-aware, they may not tell the truth. The last one of don't is don't use a 360-degree feedback instrument. 360-degree feedback instrument is a process that the employee get the confidential anonymous feedback from the people who work around them. Yes, and like including manager, peers, clients, or direct reports. The problem of these two is people will carefully select the respondents and prepare them on how to score. So she recommend to use three ways of test. So now we talk about what we should do. The first one is get reference and talk to referees directly. And the second one, she recommend that we should interview for EI. Annie McKee suggests that we should interview like behavioral event interview. Behavioral event interview start with making the candidate as comfortable as possible to ensure that you get the truth from them. Then ask a few general questions like background or experience of them. And the second step is asking about a challenge situation that the candidate is the main person of that story. The first one is The first one is successful situation. We have to encourage the candidate to tell the story briefly at first. So then go over the entire story, asking very specific questions about what they thought, what they felt, and what they actually did. After that, ask for unsuccessful situation in the same way. Yes. This interview technique will allow you to know the details about how the candidate think, how they feel, and how they manage their feeling during situation. And in the end, when you finally see EI from the candidate, you can hire EI employees to your business. Okay. I'll leave the question about this case to the next session and the presentation here. So, yeah, thank you.
Are there any questions from audience? Well, actually, I should give feedback privately with the group, but since this is a group, maybe I give some feedback to the rest of the class so you get an idea. In the big picture, they did what they have to do, which is they talk about identify set behind case and talk about case, which is good. And I also like the way that they use video quick because it's fun and get our attention. And also try to get that attention from audiences is good. But anyway, that's it's in general, but it doesn't mean that you guys have to exactly just like they did. But okay, the main thing is that they deliver what they have to deliver. But for techniques, it just depends on you. Come up with the way that you think is good for you. Alright, so now it's time for you to get together in a group. I would like you to answer my own question. We just you have case with you. Well, because the case, which part of the recommendation that you don't agree, and for what reason why you don't agree with that recommendation. I give you 10 minutes to answer that. Maybe just pick one part, and if you cannot find one part that you, you cannot say that you disagree, that's fine too, but for what reason, strong reason why you agree with everything from that article, from the case. Alright? Pick just one recommendation that you disagree and give reason.
Oh, is it macro? Oh, big group? Can we do big group? Oh, yeah.
So get together in a group. And when you turn in your answer, you don't have to write down names, just be the group member because I already have list of your member. Do our group have Oh,
get the differences and want to do it. So that's so the experts quantify that in the term like universal utility because if that force or something, they may have some less and also really love this person may like be optimistic
Use personal as because like as you guys know, I studied for it many years ago. So this actually, to be honest, is very good actually it's very nice for group projects. It's very nice for group projects. Task oriented is very nice. Task oriented straight. So when it comes to relationship with others, sometimes it's not going well because the personality test usually tells the pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses. Strengths and weaknesses means that it doesn't mean that they can get along with others. So what is your strength? What is your weakness? I can find it very easily, so which means I can assign the task in an effective way. But when it comes to get along with others, but some people make some problems because everybody has strengths. So totally agree. It's like this is something like paragraph. As long as you have your own opinion.
So, in your opinion, like you might want to use the I think if you
it's usually for just assigned tasks.
But normally HR use personality test for us. I don't think so.
They don't see that people that's right for one and others like when how people maybe one like MBTI or something maybe like that way.
So we are like unconsciously classified by HR.
But it depends. For example, like in the team of the manager, they may skip because they may be different or this team